Hey guys, and welcome to Cabbies Corner. Today I'm going to be going over something a little different. Zero did a video about the contrast primer and paints, well, an overview. He will be getting to that a little later. I'm going to be going over my thoughts of the whole idea of these paints will make you better or make it easier. I don't know what they claim. I don't really pay too much attention to that. But I'm going to show you that there's no substitute for time. Basically, I'm not going to say talent because some of this stuff you could learn, and just if you learn how to kind of paint in the lines, it's the same concept with the miniatures. If you can paint in the creases, keep everything nice and neat, you can make a model look better. So we're going to go over my 17 years of miniature wargaming modeling. Now, I have been modeling far longer than that, far back as I can remember. I was building planes, I was building cars, I was building boats. Didn't get into the actual like humanoid, let's just say, painting until 17 years ago. And then I really enjoyed it. I knew about it, but I didn't know where to find it because there was only one local game store that actually had humanoid miniatures. I'm going to call them basically, species of like werewolf, vampires, all that stuff is what I'm talking about. The hobby shop that I knew and grew up with didn't have that stuff. It just had the regular model cars, model trains, model planes, RC cars, RC planes. We did have a game shop. Zero knew about the game shop long before I did. But I never went there until I met Zero. And then when I got into wargaming, that's when I started doing the humanoid type figures with the tanks in there and whatnot. So I'm going to go over. I don't have any early examples of my miniature painting because I used to play with them, and subsequently they got destroyed, most of them, or I parted them out for whatever reason. It could have been like maybe some scenery, or I wanted that rocket pod, or whatever happened, or they just were too far gone. I guess got rid of them. So unfortunately, I don't have those early models that I painted and did. I do have some of the earliest ones, like I said, are from 17 years ago when I first started this, and up until now. Some of these miniatures you've seen already in some of the videos. That wasn't painted in one. The Bane blade there is you've seen in one of the videos, but I just brought out some of these other miniatures that you've seen in videos just so you could see the progression of how I used to be and how I did. The Dark Angels and Tau, I'm going to say, are my best examples of this because they were unfinished armies up until about a year and a half ago when I decided to get back into painting. And even then, I was able to pick it up real quick and get back into it. And I actually ended up redoing some details on a lot of the models. I will go over that when I do my Dark Angels Army video. I might have in the video, it was about a year ago, maybe a little longer ago, that we did a Dark Angel Army video of mine, but it's finished for now. I don't know when we're going to get that video out, but we will be getting it out. It's got even more massive, but the focus on today is progression in painting throughout the years. Time will create a better paint job as long as you're taking the steps to do it. I mean, if you're just slathering on paint and don't want to try different techniques or just try to improve your own skills, it won't happen. But if you're actually actively maybe trying some of the new techniques or just some of the old tried and true, like I still just do dry brushing, kind of blending. I don't know I do it. I just kind of end up doing it. But the models will end up looking better as long as you try. So why don't we go ahead and get a closer look at these miniatures, all right? Okay, what you see is a variety of examples of miniatures that I've painted throughout the years. You're going to see some Forge World in there, you're going to see some GW in there, mainly GW models. Like I said, I do have some Forge World stuff. We're going to start with the Dark Eldar because that's the freshest video that I did. Was my army showcase. So let's just go ahead and take a look at that and just look at the differences and similarities right now. If you look at the bases are pretty flocked, the lack of a better term, but they're very basic. You have a bigger base here, but there's only some sand and some grass. Same thing, you got a bigger base here, sand and grass. But then you look at the towel, I don't remember which suit this is, I threw on some land speeder parts. So you got a couple land speeder parts just to kind of dress it up because it's the big base. But if you see, all three armies has examples of that. So you look over here at the land speeder, it's clear base and I was done. You look over here at the broadside, just some flock and some sand. And then you look at the base of the Master of the Raven Wing. I threw some parts on here. And I'll be bringing the miniatures up closer so you can take a look at it. The Grandmaster is actually on two bases because I didn't want to deal with having the light bulb must be dying. Or not. That was weird. We might lose power here, so I might have to cut this video a little short. I didn't want to have to deal with the Lion's Helm miniature on a different base. So why don't we go ahead, like I said, we're going to start off with the Dark Eldar. We'll start with the kind of just the regular old troop miniatures. Let's get that in the focus there. So I'm going to put my hand, let's see how close we can get with it focusing. Okay, so I mean at far away it looks pretty decent, but when you start looking close, let's see, I'm actually going to use him at the tip right there. You could see I just didn't kind of finish painting it. The dry brushing on the abdomen is a little sloppy. You could see in here where they're supposed to be all silver, you have purple. So I mean, like I said, from afar they look pretty decent, but when you get up close you can start picking out some of the mistakes. Not as many mistakes I think on this one here, I would say, but like the eyes aren't red all the way. The silver dry brushing I did, you could see, went over in places. I think this guy was repaired at one point, that's why his hand looks like the way it is. So these are early examples of my first army, and then we're going to get into the HQ. Now, believe it or not, these are the only models I've ever varnished because I didn't feel like varnishing them. So, yet again, even though this is an HQ, if you look right there with their hairline, some of the, I would say the skin tone is in her hair. The dry brushing is real heavy. It did pick out detail, but also at the same time it over dry brushed. This one here, I actually did pretty decent, but I don't think I dry brushed the purple anything because I had varnished her. She's actually pretty decently clean for an early one, but heavy. It is the heavy coats on there. I'll give you that. And I do not know why I painted her skin white. And then if you look at the eyes and the lips, that was a real heavy. And her eyebrows, she got a giant unibrow right there. I don't know if you can pick that up. Yeah, but she's got a giant unibrow. So then we're just gonna stick with the actual smaller miniatures right now. I'll bring those up. Here's some Tau. And this is the third army I've ever painted. The second army was a Dark Elf army that from Warhammer that I sold, so I no longer have that. I didn't even keep any miniatures for it because I don't know why. So as you can see, cleaner lines, not as heavy dry brush, still heavier than you probably would like, but, and then even, well, I didn't do this. This is a miniature I got from Zero. It was on there, it was kind of cool, so I was like, alright, I'll just paint it, no big deal. And then here you get to their ethereal. I did put this on. You start seeing some things. I put stuff on bases, or I might have got it from Zero like that. I don't remember where I got this model, but yet again, you know, a bit cleaner. Still a little heavy on the dry brushing, but I mean, third army, and I'm hard-headed with things, so stubborn. And then this is when I started painting my Dark Angels army. This is the Terminator I did. So it's gotten cleaner, right? But still, if you look, you know, I didn't really do too much detailing on it. Let me get it better. So there was room for improvement for, like, you know, this piece here. I really didn't detail too much. The little feather I didn't detail too much. So there was room for improvement. I wasn't as heavy on the dry brush as the other models. But then you come to this, and then you could see that, you know, I did a lot more detailing. You can see that there. The shield has multiple colors. I painted the skull colored. The shoulder pad, the skull is a skull color or a bone color. The little emblem behind it, and then I painted the plaque a different color. It's so. I mean, but you're talking 17 years of me painting and realizing, hey, I need to up my game a little bit. So there's the shoulder pad. These are really detailed. These Terminator Knights. So why don't we go on to the bigger models and start talking about a little bit more about, like, with the basing and stuff like that. So these are some early examples. So you can see, I mean, fairly clean, fairly good. Like I said, Tau dry brushing was a little heavy because it was, but it was clean. But the bases, in my opinion, are a little boring. How big it was. Same thing with this guy. Base a little boring. Dark Eldar Talos, an older Talos. You could see, like, all right, let's put it, the gun there. The gun versus the little claw there. You can see the way I dry brushed this versus dry brushed that. That was real heavy and just get it on there. These were real heavy, but a little bit more precise. And then yep, I'm gonna won't be Cabbies Corner without me dropping something. You all know that. And then this was closer to the end before I stopped painting. So like I said, the base is like meh. I stripped the base. I think this is, yet again, I got these from Zero. I bought them off him, stripped the base, and I was like, alright, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with them. And then this is a fairly recent Forge World model. That, I don't think it came with that. I think I added that piece there to stabilize them, because the Tau hooves I do not trust. I've had them break. But, on the base, started adding some detail. I mean, if you're not doing competition and trying to get out there, I might as well. I mean, just kind of adds to it, kind of makes it a little bit more dynamic in my mind. So there's that little headlight that I did. I did paint the cockpit in these. Let's see if we can get a good shot. There's the cockpit buttons. And then we come to one of the last bigger miniatures. I painted the Master of the Ravenwing. I actually totally forgot this guy. I was like, yeah, I'm done. And then I was like, oh, no, I am not done. So I, tried to do my best with it. Try to pick out as much detail as I could. Try to do the little writing on there. But the main takeaway from it is that, I still kept with the whole theme of putting stuff in the base. So I had a flamer sitting around, door, part of a knight helmet. So, and then, yeah, I even gold lined. I don't know if that'll come up on the camera, but I even gold lined his thing, even though it was tan. I was like, alright, I'm still going to do it, because if you look close enough, you'll see it. So those are all the small to medium-sized miniatures. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the tanks. We'll start with the Tau tank. So this is a Hammerhead gunship. Alright. You know, did a fairly decent job, but you can see here, you know, I did some dry brushing, went over, and I said, alright, that's good enough for me. You know, from afar it doesn't look bad. When you get up close, you start noticing it. Like did I get it there too. Everything else seems to be pretty decent. The underbelly, you know, this is where because I don't have it on an actual base, I just put it down. We could still see the inconsistency in the dry brushing that I have or have. You know, sometimes I get lazy, sometimes I don't. So I put little eyes in there. Kind of creeps people out. It's even creepier when there's no little like iris there painted. But then we get to, I want to call this, I think that's the Riptide. So really clean lines, not too much over dry brushing. You know, there's a spot here or there, but not like the whole model. This is magnetized on the arm. It will hold here, but it's for the two different weapons. I got in the helmet there. And here's the, you know, side view. Side view of it. I had a Scout land speeder laying around. I think I stepped on or something like that, and this is a part from an intercessor. I was like, all right, let's just throw some tubing in it. You know, make it crashed. You know, you can believe whatever you want. He did it, or he came up on it, whatnot. I hate that the antenna are so weak, but what are you gonna do? So then we'll go on to the Imperial tanks. So this is a kind of a, let's say, dual generational tank. All right, because this is new because I found these. Zero actually did a little quick overview of these. One is salt cannons, and I was Spellcrow, I want to say, or Kremlov. I found them. I was like, oh, these are really neat. You know, I already had the tank itself, so I was like, all right, just get these, and they fit perfect. They look kind of neat. They're a little different, but they actually have the same kind of aesthetic feel as some of the Forge World turrets. But if you look close at the detail, that one's not painted too bad, but like that one there, that's horrendous. That one there is another example of heavy-handed dry brushing. So I'm still even doing it, but like I said, this is before I took my break for a bit, and you can see that I didn't even line that up right. And the numbers are in there, so when I do Apocalypse, I have 11 or 12 Razorbacks. I can't remember exactly. So all my tanks are numbered, so I can see what number does it say on there. You know, you got number on the back, so I can read it. Number on the top here and on the back, just so I can, like, oh, cool. All right, it's number 6, so I can tick mark it, so I don't have to have a bunch of tokens lying around. But then you jump to this one here. You can see the difference in the dry brushing. I wasn't as heavy-handed on the bigger parts. The detail, a little bit more simpler on this because I just didn't like this model all that much, to be honest with you. I had it because the troop capacity and whatnot, but I don't know. I just don't like the Land Raider Crusader all that much. But I did the most decent job I could, you know. Start picking out the skulls and the gear. There you go, another skull that I painted, more bone color. You can see with the dry brushing of the silver, I didn't go over as much. You can see with the little Dark Angel emblem, didn't do too bad of a job. I didn't even realize I did that. I painted the little skulls in there, so in there. This one here I painted gold. So like I said, you know, just getting a little better, doing the windows a little bit better. Numbered 5. So, and then we'll get to this bad boy here. main blade. So I built this years ago, but I just painted it recently. So you can see in there the little shrine. You know, I did a fairly decent job. And actually each one of the little rivets, what I did is I didn't ink the whole vehicle. I inked each of the rivets and then went back, kind of cleaned it up, and then I did a light dry brush on it. These are actually, in the way I'm painting, these are going to be a fairly more modern, simpler. I mean, Space Marines are meant to be, I feel, are a little bit more flashy with some of them. And then, of course, that's not got a base. But then you come here to the knight. This is why I started using the dry paints that GW's come out. I started my hand at it and I was doing okay. I think this is this is the first one I painted out of the 3 knights that I have. So a little heavy on the dry paints, but you know, it was me getting used to them, me relearning how to dry brush. This is, I believe, Kremlev or Spellcrow, I can't remember who, but Zero did a actual video on this. And there it is, it's all its glory. So, but this is actually set up, I want to say, for the battle cannon. And actually, you know, that's how I magnetized it. It's actually just got a piece of metal there. So there's one, and then I did a hack job on that. There's the other. So I'm putting the effects of the metal, getting warmed up. I gotta get better at that. It's a little too uniform. But then, yeah, you look at the base, you know, even the detailing, you know, started getting more, you know, painted better. Just pieces I had. This is an extra shin guard I had from a Titan. I think that's also part of that. Yet again, more of that, and the door. But there's the back end. I'll be going over my knights pretty soon in future model, future video, sorry. And then there's this chain sword fist thing. But it, you know, as you can see, I'm an average painter, maybe a little bit above average, not by much if I am. It's just taking time and relearning sometimes, or sitting down and analyzing what you're doing and taking constructive criticism. Not just taking it in, but actually taking the advice and applying it. You got to apply it, because if you don't apply it, you know, you get stuck in a rut. So I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. These are Remoras. These are heavy, so I'm gonna just grab this guy. So Zephon Fighter and a Remora. You can see the difference, that, you know, heavy-handedness versus not as heavy. I don't paint in cockpits all that much, so that's what I usually do. But let's see, you can see, not too detailed in this model, to be honest with you. It's just a really big chunk of resin, to be honest with you. This one's fairly, I feel, fairly more detailed because how small it is and everything they crammed onto it. So there's that. You guys seen the Thunderhawks, so if you watch A Tale of Two Thunderhawks, it was just there to, you know, well, I'll just pull it up real quick. You know, show you the base. That looks like part of Primaris Dreadnought stuff. Rail doors. There's the underbelly. It's getting a little better, you know, I feel. So it's just a cool shape of a plane. It's a cool plane, cool model. It's an awesome model to paint. Building, you know, Forge World models are pain in the ass build. And then we'll find, you know what I'll do at this is the end of the video. I'm going to actually take the camera up and I'm going to go over to the actual Fortress of Redemption and make it a lot easier. So this thing, if you take a close look at it, is very detailed, or as detailed as you want it to be, right? Because you could see there's an eagle behind that. Actually, I think behind all of them. You got the doors, the windows, the eye slits, grating, which I just, you know, did some dry brushing silver after I did everything, just to kind of give it the worn look. You got the Icarus las cannons. Of course, you got my favorite, the tower, because this just screams Dark Angels. I'm sorry. I think a lot of the motifs do, because it being the first chapter, I think a lot of it was based off of that. But I mean, you could see in there, you got so much more detail. I went a little lazy, and as this, here you go, just did it like a dark copper color, silver, just to kind of get it painted. Because honestly, when I was talking to Zero about painting this thing, I was going crazy. Well, I paint this like this, I paint this like that, and then I was like, all right, I'll simplify it as much as I can, right? So, but you can still see, I still need work and stuff. You can still see the lines there aren't the greatest on the little lamps. So there's always room for improvement. I mean, you know what they say, if you stop learning, you stop, I forgot what it is, but it's basically, if you stop, if you're not willing to learn, you kind of just put yourself in a rut of either just repeating the same mistakes or just always doing this same thing over and over again. Oops, sorry about that. So, with that being said, I hope you guys like the look at it. Look at, you know, the miniatures throughout the days or the years that I've painted. If you have any questions, let me know. And like I said, I mean, if you're just first starting out, don't believe all the hype on stuff. Because to get clean lines, you're going to have to practice that. You're also, you know, change out your brushes. I know it seems kind of this reoccurring expensive brushes, but I mean, you can clean them up, wash them up as much as you can, to make them last a little longer. You can do whatever tips and tricks, but sooner or later, I think that there's horsehair, to be honest with you, but sooner or later they wear out. I mean, it doesn't seem like that, but I mean, if you do any dry brushing, you know, and actually pay attention to what you're doing with the dry brush technique itself, it's really abusive to the bristles. So sooner or later, like I said, the bristles are just going to wear out. So you're going to have to, you know, make sure you're, you know, getting new detail brushes, new, you know, dry brushes are the main things. Details and dry brushes. Base coat brushes, I don't know so much today anymore because they have so many different colors and sprays that, you know, getting that nice base coat on the miniature is so easy to do. Yeah, they're needed. Definitely, they are needed because the Knight, I believe I painted all black. I don't remember what color primer did. Yeah, I believe I painted it all black, so I had to paint the silver, I had to paint the blue-gray, and then the dry brush and everything, so I, you know, did that old school, like, build up the colors and stuff like that. But if you look at the Dark Angels and the Imperial Guard stuff, yeah, Dark Angels and the Imperial Guard stuff, because even the Tau stuff, I painted it up, you know, from dark. The Imperial Guard stuff is Xandar Dust, and Dark Angels is whatever, Dark Angels Green or whatever they call it nowadays. Caliban Green, I think is what they call it. I mean, those were sprayed, the base coat, because the sprays that had come out were a lot better. The Razorback, though, was sprayed black, I want to say, first, and then sprayed green, because the older sprays, that's how you had to do it. And then also older days, I mean, the sprays didn't match up. I had a Hammerhead, I think I still do. I don't remember if it was a Hammerhead or Devilfish that I sprayed, and it was, they were different colors. I mean, they said the same color, but they were different colors, so I don't think a lot of people did that back then. But now they're so close, I mean, especially with any really big armored type army. Kind of weird to say that way, but it behooves you to actually just spray it that color. I mean, even with the Knights the way they are, you can keep most of the plates off, spray those separately, because that's kind of how I did the Titan that I will be finishing up here hopefully in the next 3 weeks. I don't know, that's taken me a lot longer than I thought because it's a lot more detailed, but I sprayed the blue separate from the silver when you see it, so it makes life a little bit easier when doing base coats. Alright guys, like I said, if you have any questions or comments, or I mean, if you're looking at some of these armies that you're seeing out there, just remember, everybody had to start somewhere. I mean, when you were born, you couldn't crawl, then you learned how to crawl, then you had to learn how to walk with assistance, and then you kind of walked around. I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but I'm still kind of klutzy to this day, so I don't think I've fully learned how to walk. Oh, I didn't show you 2 models. I'm sorry. But this is a really old miniature, a really new miniature that I painted about the same time. So you got your Primaris Chaplain, which is not a lot of real heavy dry brushing on it. Just enough to kind of pick out the detail. And then Israel. But, so, they were just sitting there and I totally forgot about them. Sorry guys. So, alright guys. Well, that's it for me tonight. I don't know when the next video, what the next video is going to be. But, like I said, that we should have the Dark Angel army complete with points, both power and match points, and coming up in the next hopefully 3 to 4 weeks, and hopefully the Titan will be done in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So that's exciting. I'm real excited about that, because we should be having also a surprise for you guys coming up too. It's something really big. Alright guys, I'll leave you guys on that.